because I had cardiac surgery last week, and all is well at the moment. I hope.
You're doing well.
Yeah, you look good.
No fun, believe me. My
Wow.
thanks to the distinguished chair of the board, Ms. Reyes, for giving me this dispensation, but it would be a little much to try and drag myself over there tonight after today.
Hey, Chuck.
Do we have a quorum?
Chuck, before we get started.
Farah, do we have a quorum?
Yes, I'll take roll call, and we do have quorum, and we have 3 ADs present on virtually. So we do have quorum. Chuck Margaret?
Hang on a second, please.
You want to read the roll call, please?
Chuck.
I'm here, Farah.
Chuck, have you seen this printout of the house? The
Farah.
subject house?
Farah,
Yes.
can we have a roll call, please,
I
Farah?
will do roll call, then you can ask your question.
Well, no, because
Let me just do roll call. Charles Morgler?
I'm good.
Okay. Mark Walkov?
Is that me?
Yes, present. Bob Bender?
here,
Lee Chung?
Here,
Omar Murray? Adriana Rivera?
Here.
Daniel Rowan?
here.
Jessica Sosa? And Laura Spolter?
Here.
You have quorum. Thank you.
Chuck, may I ask you a question before we start?
Can you hear us?
Can you mute whoever's phone that is? Can you mute them?
Chuck,
Okay,
can you hear me?
I can see, pardon me?
Can you hear me?
Sure. I'm sad to
Okay.
say yes.
Okay. Do you have a copy of this printout for the subject house?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna bring one over, if you didn't, that's why I was asking.
No.
Okay.
I'm okay. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've done the roll call. I want to do one more mechanical act, please, before starting, and then I'm going to ask you your indulgence. We have the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes? And are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt?
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor, aye, contrary mind. Any dissents? Done. The next mechanical act is I would like your consent to open the agenda to add an additional item, which came up literally about 5-6 hours ago. At least this is a preliminary reopening of that item, but we'll see as we progress. It involves 160 Van Cortlandt Park South, the so-called visitation site. May I have your consent to reopenings so you can hear what this is all about a little later on?
Second,
Yes.
Any objection?
It's present.
Okay. All right. We will now go to the Robin Hill site. Is the applicant or a representative present?
Yes, I am.
Where are you?
My camera is not on. I apologize. I'm trying to figure it out, but I can't. But I'm here. I see all of you.
Okay.
And I am also here. I'm the architect for the property.
All right. Would you like to make a presentation in support of the application, sir?
you say yes.
Yes, I would.
Go forward.
All right. The person who just spoke, the owner Ainsley Perrion, I think before I speak, she was hoping just to make a brief introduction. here she is.
I figured it out. Hi. Hi, if that's okay. Hi, my name is Ainsley Perrion, and I'm the owner of the property at 5445 Palisades in Robin Hill. I'm sorry that my husband, Eve, and I couldn't be there. We just found out about this last Wednesday, and we're in France. We had to come, and I apologize. I really would like to have been there to feel
Okay.
more local with you guys. But before we left, I did send notes and talk to two of our direct neighbors. I dropped off 6 notes in total. They're well aware, most of them are well aware, the ones on either side of me of the project, and the neighbor across from me is aware as well. I even went down to the Riverdale station and spoke with Arthur, and he's in the trailer there, handed him a note, and Robert did file something. I'm sure he'll talk about that. So Metro North is well aware of our project too. I just wanted to give you as a little bit of background. I've
Before we go any
relocated.
further, let me
Huh?
just interrupt to ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you get any written consents or objections to your application from any of your neighbors?
No, I did not. The neighbors, Robin Hill is a little tiny circle, and there are 4 of us on it. And I've lived there for a few years, and they all know, and no one's ever said anything. I didn't know I needed a written consent.
It's okay.
And it was really cold that day, but they're well aware. But I haven't felt anything negative. I think we're all pretty good neighbors with each other.
All right.
And if I
Please
did,
go
I
ahead.
would have disclosed that.
Please go ahead.
Anyway, so I know of Riverdale because my daughter, my eldest daughter, was doing her residency at Monty and lived on Rivercrest Road, and she was there about 5 years
Where
ago.
I live.
Oh, hi. Well, do you remember the Sindhus, Taylor and Kunal Sindhu? That's
right.
my daughter. They
Okay.
now have a baby and another one on the way. So I
Okay.
wanted to be close, as you can imagine. So we were looking for years, and we fell on that property actually when Taylor was looking for a house. Sean Treback said, I hear you're looking, let me show you this house. And the minute I walked on the property, I was in love. It's beautiful. The backyard is beautiful, the view. And I had to do it. I really was excited to be there. But I've lived there for a couple of years, and we've been thinking about this project because we know it's a special place and we know how much everybody cares about it. And we wanted to make sure that we do this with as little impact as possible, and we do it well. And so, that's our main motivation. Our focus has been to respect the sensitive environment of the plot and work to conserve it. Period. And I'm sure Robert will speak to you about this much better than I ever could. But I really just wanted you to see Eve, who's a little shy, and me, and say, this is us. If you have any questions, please let us know.
All right, Robert, you're on.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ainsley, for that introduction. I am sending a request to share at the moment.
You should be allowed to.
Okay, great. Yep.
In the frame.
So let me just get to the correct tab. Just bear with me for one moment. Okay. I think if all goes as planned, you should be seeing the drawings on the screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So I am, these are the drawings that were sent, physical copies, coordinated by Artie to the community board last week. And I am going to walk you through the drawings and talk about some of the salient points. But before I do that, I just want to give a brief introduction to the project, kind of extending what Ainsley was saying just now. Just to reiterate, my name is Robert Schultz. I'm with Cunha Schultz Architecture and Design. We're the architects for the project. As far as the status goes, we've completed the filed land use application milestone with the Department of City Planning. We have been working with the DCP staff on the various stages of the application, and as of Monday last week, they sent a referral letter to the community board, and you all got in touch with me on Tuesday to request we come to this hearing, so here we are. To give you some background, I know that many people here know much more about these surroundings than I do, so please forgive me if some of this is repeating information that you already know, but I want to give a kind of blanket introduction to the project. The project is a modification within an existing single-family residential property. 5445 Palisade is located in a small group of houses built in the 1920s under the name Robin Hill. 5445 Palisade is not directly on Palisade Avenue. The access to the property is via a commonly owned access road that is jointly owned by the members of the Robin Hill Corporation, including our clients. The surrounding area is primarily single-family houses in the R1-1/NA2 zone. The western portion of the Robin Hill properties is characterized by steep vegetated slopes that go from the Riverdale upland areas down to the Hudson River floodplain. The Riverdale station of the Metro-North Railroad is within walking distance of the project area and provides mass transit access. The proposed site alterations that have been submitted for review by the Department of City Planning include a 60 square foot addition to the west side of the first floor of the house to provide an expanded kitchen, an expanded open porch on grade on the west side of the house, and new patio areas on grade, an expanded cellar light well, and a small new swimming pool, which is set within an existing paved sunken patio area. The plan has been guided, as Ainsley mentioned, by principles of conservation and ecological enhancement. It's meant to act as a naturalistic component to the architecture of the existing house. No existing trees are proposed to be removed as part of the work. The work is limited to areas directly adjacent to the existing house, which are currently either patios or manicured lawn. No construction is proposed in the steep slope or the 15-foot steep slope buffer areas, which together comprise approximately 60% of the property. The proposed enlargement and the proposed site alterations do not encroach upon tree critical root zones. The proposed addition is in an area already occupied by a paved areaway and light well, and reuses those elements to act as the foundation for the proposed kitchen addition. The expanded porch reproduces the existing porch footprint with additional covered areas of approximately 300 square feet to the north and to the south of the existing porch in areas that are currently patio or open lawn. The porch columns will sit on point footings requiring minimal localized excavation. New patios at the west side of the house are in an area that is currently open lawn and will be integrated with existing topography and new plantings emphasizing native species. The swimming pool is proposed for an area that is currently a paved sunken patio north of the house. The grade of the patio around the pool is proposed to be raised by less than 2 feet from its existing level, bringing it closer to natural grade. Including all the proposed improvements, the paved and developed area of the site will comprise approximately 19% of the property, and the natural undeveloped area will be 81% of the property. The project supports the goals of the Special Natural Area District because the work is designed to respect and preserve botanic, geologic, and topographical features of the site. By limiting the impact of the proposed development, vegetation and natural terrain are preserved to reduce any potential hillside erosion or excessive stormwater runoff. The architectural design of the addition and porch is integrated with existing architectural features to enhance the value and character of the property and the surroundings. So I will walk you through the drawing set now after that introduction. So what's on the screen now is our cover page to orient you to the location of the project and some of its context. So you can see in the zoning map on the upper left-hand side, we are close to the river in the R11 zone within the NA2 overlay district, which is what brings us here tonight. If you look at the tax map here directly below, you see that we are, in fact, a property that does not abut a public street directly. Instead, we have the common access road, which brings us in to the site. Here is a blow up of that area. So here is Palisade Avenue. Here is the access road. And then these are some of the adjoining properties that comprise the Robin Hill Corporation. Looking at the site itself, this is an existing site plan of Lot 17, Ainsley and Eve's property. You can see that the existing house is at the far eastern end of the property. Here is the sunken courtyard to the north, which I mentioned earlier, and the existing porches on the west side of the house, as well as the areaway, where part of which is going to become this small addition to the existing kitchen. You can see from this plan that the site is fairly bifurcated. The eastern portion of the property is quite level and is largely open lawn. And then the west side of the property is a steep slope area going from this higher elevation down to the elevation at the river area at the Metro North Station. To orient you to existing conditions, here are some photographs of the house.
Hold it. While you have that map up,
Yes.
look at trees number 27 to 30.
Okay, I'm going to the tree plan. Yep.
Now, how do you intend to protect those from not being impacted?
I think that we would use standard tree protection techniques during the construction. As I mentioned, the footings for the new porch, the closest columns are here, and because it's only localized excavation, we would work with an arborist to provide the appropriate tree protection prior to construction using best practices.
Let me suggest to you
Mm-hmm.
that should this go over or be deferred for the board vote, that you get that arborist to tell us that this works. If you will look at number 30, you will see it's pretty proximate to the building itself.
Yes.
If you will look to number 27, the radius brings it right up to the area where you're working.
Mm-hmm.
So that there is a question as to whether or not, now what is 27? What kind of tree?
Tree 27 is a hemlock.
And 30?
Tree number 30 is a yew.
And they're pretty big, aren't they, those two trees?
The hemlock is large. The yew is not so large. Has a 7-inch caliper.
So what I would ask you to do is to give, have you retained an arborist so far?
Yes. Our clients have been working with Ken Olmsted.
Ken Olmsted's been with me all through all of this since the beginning. And he's been to the house at least a dozen times. He's coming next week, and he's helping me with all the trees because they were in pretty bad shape when we got there. So they're working with us, and I'll continue to use them throughout the whole project. He's also working with the neighbor on the same thing because our lawns are so close. We also have the same gardener doing the design as the neighbor to make sure it's all integrated and everyone's happy. Just so you know.
Would you be good enough, please, to ask him to give us a written statement that those trees are not in jeopardy and exactly what steps he plans to take to preserve them?
Sure thing.
Sure.
If he finds they are in jeopardy, it's not the end of the world. We'd have to then, at that point, figure out how to mitigate the loss of the trees.
For
But
the
I-
record, the hemlock was dying and he revived it over the last 3 years. by, it was infested and he was able to cure it. And now it's thriving again. So we really are not interested in losing that tree. We've invested in it and we will make sure and we'll provide you with the necessary document.
Yeah.
So what we need is some expert view as to A, its viability, B, a projection as to what can be done to enhance that, and C, your thoughts as to what you would do by way of mitigation or replacement, all right?
Okay. And we've had that conversation with him several times, so I'm happy to do that.
We would need that in writing, if I may.
Okay, I hear you.
Schultz, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. So back to the drawing set. So sorry. So we were at the tree plan. Let me just rewind a few pages. I was just orienting you to some of the photographs of the house. So upper left, seen from the approach side from the common access road. These three views to the right are for the existing condition of the river side of the house. You can see it's within a level area, which is largely open lawn and has these two porches on the west side of the house, which we're proposing to expand. This photograph here is something I mentioned in my introduction, which is the sunken courtyard on the north side of the house, which is now a little more than 2 feet below grade. And then this areaway light well section, which kind of hugs the house, west side of the house. And it's at the very end of that where we're proposing the small addition to the kitchen. Here are two aerials showing the property outline relative to its surroundings. So this is that Robin Hill district here. And then a straight-on aerial showing the outline of the plot, the existing house, the level area, and then the steep slope area.
So let me address those last two. Would you please put it up again? Thank you.
Yep, should be there.
I had the misfortune or fortune of serving for 10 years as a member of the MTA board. That site on the downslope has had from time to time a considerable number of fallen trees. And those trees put both the track, the cars that are parked, and some of the construction areas in jeopardy from time to time. Do you have any comments concerning what you plan to do in that regard, have done or will do?
Do you want me to comment, Robert, or do you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
This is where Ken comes in once again. Yes, we've, when we first moved there, when Sean showed me the property, I looked down there, it was trash and cones and all kinds of things were dumped into that area. And it's really bad, in fact. But anyway, that someone had cut open the fence, and been dumping garbage there for God knows how long. So I walked back there and went in that slope and saw the trees and all of that stuff. And we can't remove obviously you know all this better than I do. We couldn't remove anything that's fallen, but what we do is we try to maintain as carefully as we can what's down there and improve it and clean up what we can, and obviously work in tandem with the MTA. And thank you for being on the board, because it's good to know the real people.
Let me just interrupt you.
Yeah.
Can remove the fallen materials. That's been done by your neighbors to the north from time to time. It's a pain. It incurs some expense, but less expense than if one of those trees rolled down the hill and hit a car.
Well, may I ask you about that? Because there's a fence. I was just down there where I mentioned Arthur. Arthur and I talked about this, because there's that chain link fencing that's up there, and there's two of them does prevent, it looks to me, trees from rolling into.
I wouldn't rely on it.
No, I agree. I know I'm not arguing at all. But the question is, we were trying to decide if it's New York City or the MTA that owns those fences, and who do I talk to about that so that we can have access to maintain that? Do you know?
Is it that you want access to the area around the chain link fence?
Yeah, because we can't get into the slope. Right now, someone cut the fence a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, and it's a mess. I mean, anyone can crawl up that thing from the parking lot to my property, really. I want to fix that and have access to it so
I
we
think-
can maintain,
think
but we don't know
What
who to
it's
ask.
done in the north is they went in there with an arborist who cut the fallen tree into pieces and then lugged it up the hill.
Right, so they went from above. I'm wondering if there's a way to go from below. Our steep is in, our slope is in much worse shape than theirs, and we don't, the edge, you can't really stand on that and fool with it.
Work on it, please, with the arborist you have. And if I can help you with MTA on it, that's fine. I very much doubt that you will want to remove the fence to do it, because if you do, they're going to make you replace it, and that's a hell of a cost.
No, I'm
Hmm,
thinking more, could we have some sort of a gate?
A
I
gate.
have pictures I could share with you I took last week of what it looks like right now, because there's no, basically the fence is down, and I don't like that. It's dangerous, I think. But
Why don't you do this? Talk to the arborist,
okay,
see what you can work out, and you can reach me through the board office.
okay, thank you. He'll be there February 22nd, so I'll do it before then.
I strongly recommend you do this for your own sake. When, if as and when an insurance adjuster comes and looks at the site, or an agent, it'll have an impact on your insurance bill.
Okay,
hmm.
thank you.
Please forgive me for interrupting you, Mr.
No,
Chair.
that's quite all right. So I think have gone through this photograph page and orienting you to the existing house. This is our property survey. Now this shows both Eve and Ainsley's lot, which is lot 17, which you see here. It also shows lot 14, which is the commonly owned access road and surroundings, which is owned by the Robin Hill Corporation. Palisade Avenue is here. 255th Street is there. Metro North is here.
What have you done? What, if anything, have you done, or do you think you need to do? You may need to do nothing, but you should think about it. You have the SAR Lower School directly opposite your site,
Mm-hmm.
and cars going in and out can have an impact there, especially when the kids come in the morning and they go out at night, and the parents are reckless in where they park their cars and the like. Um, it's something, again, for your own sake, you are well served if you try and lay out a plan on how to deal with it. I go down there a fair amount of time, so be aware it's an issue that you need to think of for your own sake.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing to do with the land use application. It has
Right.
to do with your own interests.
Yeah, I haven't been there during the that time of the day.
I have, believe me.
Yeah.
I-
Ainsley or Eve, have you
No,
noticed?
I just so you know, I know all those guards. I'm a runner, and every morning I'm there at 8 o'clock in the morning when all of that is going on. And even I walk in the evening around 3 to 5 in that area. We go through the woods, and I see all the cars. And I mean, I think luckily for us, it's over on the south end, so it really doesn't impact our entranceway. All it goes in the other direction. So when we come and go, we just sort of take a left, if you know what I'm saying. But I hear you. I appreciate what you're saying.
The desperados who park there frequently park in other people's driveways. So
Hmm.
something you need to think through.
Yeah,
We
we don't have that experience.
No, nobody park in our areas. We've been very lucky.
Yeah, they don't come up there.
And since they put some reform on 254 and prevent parking, the school has been quite good in packing their yard with cars.
Yeah, but you're going to have a problem. Some moron called the Department of Transportation has decided to do sidewalks on both sides of 254th Street. It is
No,
not
I know
possible. It is not possible for a bus and a car then to park, to drive in opposite directions on that street. So the result will be either a one-way street or one hell of an accident.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's just going to add to everything.
Now we're aware of that, and we're part of the community trying to convince the New York to do sidewalk only on one side so the traffic flow could work.
The board has been taking that position, and this committee has taken that position consistently. It falls on deaf ears on a group of incompetents.
Yeah. That's the pleasure of living in New York.
No, this group of incompetents didn't serve in that incompetent role previously.
Anyway, no, we hear you.
All right, I will move on to the next page in the drawing set, which is the proposed site plan. A lot of this I have described already, but I'll just orient you briefly. As I mentioned, west side of the site, steep slope, contours shown here at 2-foot intervals. This area that's shaded a little bit more lightly is the steep slope buffer zone of 15 feet. So and as I mentioned in my introduction, this part comprises over 60% of the site. And we're not proposing any construction in that area whatsoever. So the steep slope is left alone, and the steep slope buffer zone, again, no construction. This line is the outline of the existing house footprint. As you can see, it's located very close to the eastern boundary of the property where it abuts the common space. To the north, in that existing sunken courtyard, is where we propose to put a very modest swimming pool, only a little over 8 feet by 17 feet.
What's the distance between the northerly portion of the pool and the boundary?
Let me just zoom in, if you don't mind. It is about 7 feet.
Well, you got 2 feet left.
Yep, about 7 feet. The kitchen addition that I mentioned is this little rectangle here. It's only about 60 square feet. It is going over where there's an existing light well and areaway. So as another way to avoid much site disturbance, we were actually able to reuse the existing fieldstone foundation of that light well as the foundation for this proposed small extension. The existing porch is this area that's shaded a little bit more lightly than I'm outlining with the cursor here. And then we're proposing to expand that porch footprint a little bit to the north and a little bit to the south as an open air porch. And then finally, within the area,
wood or metal?
it would be steel columns and a wood framed roof structure. And we are planning to do a vegetated roof over the entire thing. So it would be a green roof, and that is a strategy to reduce runoff, obviously, which is one of the benefits of green roofs, and also to make it feel like part of this beautiful landscape, so that when you're looking out from the second floor windows, you're looking over greenery in the foreground. And yes, so a green roof porch, and then there are some limited patio areas also on this west side of the house, open air patios interspersed with new planting beds that, as I mentioned, emphasize native plantings. Moving on, I know we were discussing this page already, as well as the required follow-up, which is the plan of existing trees, keyed here on the left with the caliper sizes and the species and the critical root zones shown on the plan. And then we've already discussed the required follow-up with the arborist about the health of the trees and efforts to preserve them during construction and keep them viable. And the owners have already talked about some efforts they've made already to preserve the trees. This is our landscape and revegetation plan, and this is focused on the areas around our interventions. So as I mentioned, this plan, as Ainsley mentioned, was developed with a landscape team who is very familiar with the surroundings and the soil conditions and the wildlife because they've been working for a neighboring owner. And the emphasis here is on native plantings that would be friendly to pollinators and to birds, because one of the things that's so spectacular about this site is not only the views and the vegetation and the trees, but also the bird life, including raptors, etc., flying over the Hudson. I mean, it's a very, very special, magical place. And really the intention here by the owners and by us is to reinforce and preserve that magical quality. The last page in the presentation is really a practical page, which we prepared for city planning, demonstrating the zoning regulations and zoning compliance for the proposed porches and the 60 square foot addition. So that brings me to the close of the drawing set. I will leave this plan up on the screen, which I think is maybe the most illustrative if anyone has any questions and wants to refer to the drawings.
Does any member of the board have, or the committee have any questions?
I do,
Who is that?
Marty.
Go.
Yeah, I think this is, I'm not voting yet, but I think this is lovely, and they spent a great deal of time on this. My concern is not the plan. My concern is the geography, and that is SAR is finishing up its construction, but pretty soon the sidewalks will go in, and the Hebrew Home is about to begin their construction. So I'm just concerned in terms of the calendar. Are they making plans or thinking about how the intrusion of the other activities might impact their construction effort?
I can speak a little bit to that. I don't know the intimate details of the plans of the neighboring property, but because we're doing a pretty light, limited scope project, I think that because of our access road, we're a little off the street. And I think for a private residential project like this, the size of our construction crew and vehicles involved in deliveries is pretty limited. As an architect, I'm used to doing a lot of New York City projects up in buildings and in townhouses and all kinds of settings. And I do find that New York City contractors, the good ones, are good at navigating construction logistics in order to not be disturbing to neighbors, and also to be able to work around, especially with Manhattan projects, a lot of other things that might be going on in the vicinity. But it's good to know that that is something that we will have to keep in mind as we plan the project. As you know, we're still very much in the approval process because we are, this is the first step in our approvals. After this, we will have to file with the Department of Buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So we're certainly not in a position where we're ready to start work tomorrow.
Let me make a suggestion to you.
Mm-hmm.
What Marty has said. You need to, in every contract you make with your vendors for whatever work they do, I would recommend you do the following. A, put in the contract a requirement that they stay within the access road area.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, when you come and yell at them, the workman will say, we have no obligation to do that, and they'll park in front and everything will hit the fan. That's number one. Number two, you need to start thinking about the combination of the three things, the sidewalks, SAR, and Hebrew Home. They portend to make 26 and 27 really a nightmare for the people down there. So just think about it in your planning.
Okay, thank you. That means that
We're well
you-
aware. We're on the list groups, in the neighborhood and we talked to the neighbors about that. I am worried about that. I've been bugging Robert and them because I'm anxious to get going so that we can maybe beat that window, but I
Mhm.
hear you. Do you know when the Hebrew home is supposed to happen?
No, and until they start doing it and really move forward, it wouldn't make any difference if they told me that. My best guess, probably toward the end of the year. They've been trying to move. They've got a couple of problems still going ahead.
There were neighbor complaints about the deconstruction of one of their buildings and how it affected the neighbors, including knocking over signs and all kinds of intrusions.
The result of that will be that more people will exit from the general area via 254th than, pardon me, now is the case where they exit at a higher street, I think 259.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Anybody else? On the motion
David
to,
has
I'm
Chuck,
sorry, go ahead.
Chuck, yes, I think frankly that the space is large enough that frankly, even a concrete or cement mixer could park on the property or on the Robin Hill Circle, so I think that they could manage to stay out of the way. And, Ms. Berrien, I wish you luck when you go to visit your grandchildren. That's gonna be a heck of a climb every time you go up there. But seriously, your trees at the western edge of the property, I see all the calipers and all that. Approximately how tall are the taller trees? 20, 30, 40 feet?
Eve, let's, do you know? Ken knows, some are, maybe, could they be as high as 40?
Yeah.
Maybe there's
Hmm.
3 or 4.
No, they're more than 40.
What do you
actually.
think they are?
I think some is probably as high as 70.
Really?
70 feet. There's a couple of them, yes. But every year we have them check for their health and they get prone of the branch that are aging too fast. So these trees are now maintained, which was not the case prior to our purchase.
Okay, the reason
And
why
so
I asked goes
we
back to.
are
Wait,
totally,
he's talking.
sorry.
No, go on, I interrupted.
Oh, go ahead, you can
Well,
continue.
I didn't hear.
He said, go ahead.
Oh, no, so we have been very careful of that fact, mindful, and then so the trees that are most likely falling are the smaller one that are less, that are, invasive for one thing, the Norwegian Norwegian maple. And we're gonna replant more native species, and eventually we'll get rid of the invasive species. And and the new trees that are to be planted are trees that will not probably grow over 30 feet.
Okay, the reason why I ask gets back to Chuck's original question. Frankly, if a tree were to fall, at that spot in the parking lot, at the very least, cars could get into the train station and take the exit, little roadway there, and that's fine. A 70-foot tree could span the parking lot and hit the tracks. So
Wow.
that's just something to keep in mind. The 30-foot trees would not go across more than the parking lot.
Yeah.
It would, it's very unlikely, but at least cars could go in and out of the parking lot, the main station part. A 70-foot tree is something to be very aware of because it might reach the tracks.
Okay, so you suggested we should cut it?
No,
I mean,
we
I
just
don't
have to
know. I
keep
mean,
an eye on it.
we
We
keep
just-
an eye on it, but I'm aware of what you're saying. And that's why, for a prudential reason, the new trees will be smaller in the lifespan. The current trees, there are a couple of them that are quite large. You're right. It might reach a track, though at the top of the tree, the trunk is rather small. And I don't think it would take long to clear the track.
God, but that'd be
But
terrible.
it'd be horrible, for the cars that are in the lot for sure, and if a pedestrian happens.
Nobody is suggesting that you cut.
No,
What
we
you
never.
No, I
And-
understand. I was kidding,
you-
but at the same
what
time,
you-
I'm aware of the
what-
danger.
What you can do is trim the tree.
Yeah.
As most people do from time to time.
We do.
Um,
We do.
Be aware that you are better served getting rid of that stuff sooner rather than later. You should know that a few years ago, as one of the storms came through, it demolished trees aplenty all over the place here.
Mm.
And the result, in some cases, were trees hitting a house and doing damage to the roof or the like. You would be really well served in having your arborist tell you what you can do, A, to remove it sooner rather than later, the down trees, because comes a storm, that stuff is going to come down, and you can never rely on the reliability of the MTA not to come after you for whatever damages that causes. And B, you have trees that could come down on your property, on your home. So
You know, the
for me.
former owner that was there for maybe 40 years and I are in touch, and he sent me pictures of what he called a micro tornado that went through our property in 2010 and devastated the back there. I mean, there was almost nothing left back up top where we are because of that. It was a mess. They never trimmed anything, but you know, Eve is you know, believes in managed forests and maintaining your property and taking care of things. And we really are. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you because we've always been wary about how to handle the slope because everyone wants us to protect it, but we think it's unsafe in so many ways because there's so much garbage and growth down there that's frankly dangerous.
That unfortunately is your burden.
Yes, and I knew that the minute I saw it. You know, it was jarring when I looked down, you know, and saw all of that. But we're happy to take that on.
Understand, that was not the only storm. One of them indeed knocked a tree off my property that fell against the house, which is considerably higher up the 254th than you might imagine. All right. Anybody else? On the motion to approve, by the way, we need that arborist report before this will go before the board. All right?
I'll write to him
Before
tonight.
February
Very good.
11th. Yeah.
When's the board meeting?
Next Tuesday,
Yeah, before
Either
the
next
11th.
Tuesday or we'll lay it over from the board until we have the arborist report. Is that all right,
Yeah.
Farah?
Yes. If you
Okay.
could send it to the office by February 11th, then we'll have it for the full board meeting, which will be good.
Otherwise, it'll go over.
Fantastic. Okay. Great. So yes, we will be in touch with Ken.
On the motion to approve, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Oh, yeah, he's not here.
Any hands up? I don't see any hands up. Motion
You
is
have
adopted.
Lee, you have Marty.
Are you
have
opposed,
Chuck.
Lee?
No, my hand is up.
Okay. All those opposed? None.
Oh,
Done.
wow.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
all. No, thank you.
Thank you
I
so
really
much.
appreciate it.
Okay.
All
And
right.
we will follow up.
Okay.
Let me now,
Your base.
let me now turn to, can you remove the shared screen, please?
I will do so. Yep. Should be gone.
Okay. Let me now move to the added item on the agenda. Or maybe you would like to do Marty's report. Maybe we should do Marty's report in between. Marty, go ahead.
thank you. It's a very sad report. I'm distressed that Innovation is not cooperating, has turned us off. Whatever complaints they have about the trees, we have been in touch with the Parks Department and the Forestry Service, And I have the impression they're willing to talk now. But Dennis has his own plans. As a result, I'll skip 3111 and go to Van Cortlandt Village. They said they wouldn't talk to us, but
Marty,
they,
before you do that, let me tell you this, if I may. I will entertain a motion to modify our prior approval to make it a rejection. So think about that. If they persist, I will entertain a motion to that effect.
well, I think we should talk about that. Yes. Dennis won't respond to us, but he said he would respond to the neighbors and answer their questions. So I collected questions from the neighbors. I sent it on behalf of the committee to them, hoping for a response by tonight. I've heard not nary a sound. So that's where we are at the moment, which is why we may have to get their attention by changing the resolution. However, another issue has come up, and I don't know the answer to this, but apparently they pointed to me about 6 or 7 facilities in the area in which private homes, one-family homes, are being redesigned internally to become multiple dwellings with tiny rooms. I presume that's under the city of Yes, which is how I responded to Abba. And I also contacted the Department of Buildings, asking if they were aware of this. I think we have someone online who is from city planning. Perhaps they can tell us if they know if this is what's going on, because the neighbors would like to know what the future looks like. And they've asked them cooperate, and they're getting none.
And have they indicated they will cooperate?
No, I've heard nothing. Well, I haven't contacted city planning, but I did contact Department of Buildings, and I haven't heard back from Nairobi yet.
Farah, you had your hand
I
up.
was just gonna say, I saw Andy enter the meeting. I don't know if she's still on here from Innovative. Andy, are you still with us? Did you call in? No.
No.
Okay.
In fairness,
sorry.
Marty, the board's adopted report unanimously made the point that this would have exactly that effect. That the adoption of City of Yes as proposed by city planning would have the effect of having a serious negative effect on existing communities throughout the city of New York. That doesn't tell you anything about what the people are doing. It does tell you a lot about city planning because they don't give a damn.
So I would take your recommendation to withdraw. Our approval was conditional, and the never came through on the condition. So I would support the amendment to our approval to a disapproval.
First, I have to make a motion to reopen that discussion. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second,
Bob?
No, it's not a second. It's a question.
Yeah.
It's a question, Chuck. I haven't seen that resolution in a long time. I have no recollection of it. I think before we
Yeah.
amend it, we need to see it again. So that
You're
we know what we're
absolutely right, as usual.
this
Farah,
is-
circulate the resolution. Marty, let's put something together for the next meeting to open in reverse. All
will
right?
do.
Well, I mean, it could, Chuck, it could also come from the floor at the board meeting if we see the resolution in time. But either way, I mean, I'll leave that up to you and Marty.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm done.
You're done. All right. So now let me take you, if I may, over to 160 Van Cortlandt Park South, which is the visitation site. We've got a damn good board chairman and a superb district manager. And earlier today, they flagged me on a series of communications they have received and reports that they got from the local media concerning the site. In substance, but not as a quote, the reports indicate that the site is proposed to be used for, as I think it was put, homeless or transitional residents. And I was reminded accurately that during the course of the presentations on this issue, at the time, about 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, we had repeated assurances when I asked and others asked and the neighbors asked whether this was going to be homeless, whether this was going to be transitional. We were told never happened. Nobody pointed out something that should have been pointed out. When I heard this report, I lost my cool and wrote the following letter to the representative of Tishman Speyer with a copy to Jerry Speyer, for whom I have the highest regard. Quote, like most people, I deeply resent being lied to. I'm not here accusing anyone of that. I am simply seeking to clarify something that is a brewing problem. That occurs because Tishman Speyer, which has always had the highest credibility with me as a lawyer and in public life, is alleged to have done so here. The purpose of this email is to resolve that issue definitively. During the proceedings before Community Board 8 on the Van Cortlandt Park South application, including those before the Land Use Committee, which I chair, Tishman Speyer's representatives were repeatedly asked if this project contemplated any form of homeless or supportive housing. Whether that would be a good or bad thing or could be addressed if that were the case is irrelevant. It was a straightforward question and called for candor. The answer was always an unequivocal negative. I'm told that local public officials have been told otherwise, and the local media now suggests otherwise. I insist on a truthful, current response and without delay. If the reports are to any extent inaccurate, I want promptly to go on record, as should you, to state otherwise. If the reports have even a scintilla of accuracy, I want to know that, too, and promptly. Bear in mind, the board is a city agency, and misrepresentation can carry with it prescribed sanctions. Jerry Speyer is one of the most honorable men I've been privileged to know. Gary Rodney and I worked well together on the City Housing Development Corporation. Both are copied here. Please let me hear from you without delay. Does the project contemplate any form of homeless or supportive housing or shelter? I received a response to that, first verbally from both council and from the gentleman who appeared before us. Let me just find it for a second. A Mr. Paman Lodi. And let me read you his response, which I think is not adequate to the making this point clear. Hold on a minute. Damn. Hold on a second. Here we go. Dear Mr. Merdler, thank you for reaching out to Tishman Speyer regarding our mixed income development at 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. We always appreciate your feedback and hope you understand how proud we are to deliver this particular site to the community. We understand some questions have arisen, so we thought it best to clarify a few points. Paragraph. The development will use HPD's mix and match program, which requires that 15% of the units be set aside for formerly, note the word formerly, FORMERLY, homeless households. However, these units are not transient housing. They are permanently affordable housing units that will be subject to rent stabilization. Consistent with rent stabilization, all residents will obtain a 1 or 2 year renewable lease. Next paragraph. Breaking Ground, which is well known as a superb partner, will assist in providing on-site social services as needed. Paragraph. This HPD requirement was discussed at CB8 Land Use Committee meeting on September 6, 2022. Paragraph. Tishman Speyer will notify key stakeholders, including Community Board, when Housing Connect will be open for applications. Housing Connect is the city's official portal for affordable housing processes. As always, please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions or concerns. The chair of the board has invited Mr. Lodi or whatever other representative of Tishman Speyer is available to do so, to attend the March meeting to go through this further. I think the board is clearly owed, the community, even more importantly than the board, are clearly owed an explanation of this process. The provisions of affordable housing of the mix and match type do provide for a reserve of housing for formerly homeless people. So there are two questions. One, what does that mean? What is a formerly homeless person? Is that Whoopi Goldberg, who now probably lives on Park Avenue, but was a formerly homeless person? Is it essentially a credit-worthy issue? Is it something that's a stain on your life forever? In which event, I find that very troublesome. Number two, the question is the impact that this has on people entertaining support for affordable housing. It appears that this is no longer a housing development corporation project. I go on that assumption based on the letters and the communications today, and therefore did not recuse myself for that reason. Otherwise, I would have. But I will tell you, I think we need to have a good hard look at this issue. I am, as you all know, a staunch advocate of affordable housing to the maximum extent possible. I serve on the Housing Development Corporation, whose function and mission it is to provide it. I do not believe that just random selection and above all else, non-disclosure to the community is acceptable. And I want to get to the bottom of this. I wanted you to know there is a possibility that because others did not understand what formerly homeless means, as contrasted with a homeless shelter, did not understand the difference, newspapers, including the Riverdale Press and its journalists, made a mistake. That has to be corrected if it is worthy of correction. We cannot afford to have programs shut down by stupid names. But in any event, with your permission, I'm going to re-invite Mr. Paman to come, Mr. Lodi, to come before the committee at the March meeting. Any questions? Any comments? Okay. Hearing none, we will go forward. Julie, if you are still on, let's send him a renewal of the invitation. Or Farah, maybe you can do it on Julie's behalf, all right?
Yes, there is someone, Jessica, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, is he the only person that we should be thinking about inviting, or is there any auxiliary agents that should join him?
Gary Rodney, who was then the head of this operation, has moved to California and is no longer a player in this program. I don't know who else is. I do know that the lawyer for them, who I spoke to today, is an exceptionally able and well-informed person, and if she chooses to come, we would be honored to have her come. And I will suggest to her that she does come. I don't know who else makes it. This is a dangerous area because let me explain to you why I use that term, and I don't use it without thinking about it. If you take formerly homeless and you equate it, as some of the media did, on an ill and uninformed basis and without adequate research on the part of the journalists involved. If you have that kind of a situation, you can wind up with the affordable housing program, which has already got its own problems, further undermined. That's not good. And by the way, the affordable housing program, which nobody wants to focus on, has as its biggest problem the fact that affordable housing isn't affordable. But that's a different issue. So can we move forward with it on that basis?
Sure.
Any objection?
No. He's on the-
Ara?
Yes.
Will you reach out to Mr. Lodi tomorrow? We look forward to his
Yes.
presence.
No problem.
That is all I have for this evening. Are there any additions, any new or old business? Do I have that blood? Mr. Leffer. You had your chance at the last meeting.
Very, very quick. I wanted to revisit the report that Marty made in light of the final item on the agenda, 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. May I share my screen very briefly?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, it's not letting me yet.
You should be able to.
Let me try again. Let's see. No, I am not allowed to share my screen yet. Oh,
Do you want that?
allow Zoom. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let me just let me try once more. Okay. Give me one more second. Okay. Oh, is it because it's up a screen? Is it because it's being recorded?
Yes.
Yeah, you should be able to share.
Okay.
Yes, it's being recorded. Yes,
Why
we
don't
should be
you-
able to
why
share.
don't you
Okay, no, we're
try
good.
and do-
We're good. We're good. We're
What?
sharing. Okay, here we are.
Okay.
Okay, figured it out. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm sorry for the technical issue. So I just thought it would be useful to revisit the issue of the micro units that are being developed in Van Cortlandt Village in light of the discussion around 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, this is 160 Van Cortlandt Park South here, and in the spirit that a picture is worth 1,000 words, myself and some neighbors have been compiling a map showing the locations of the micro units, which effectively are taking single-family homes and carving them up into 10, very, very small, 150 square foot apartments. So each diamond is the location of one of those facilities that either has been completed, like 69 Stevenson Place or 3450 Cannon Place, 3860 Bailey, 3885 Orloff. and those that are underway, including 2 on Saxon Place, and the latest on 3822 Sedgwick Avenue, which was the home of Rabbi Sadin and then his son and daughter. So there's definitely a trend here. And I really want to emphasize this point that people in the community are trying to figure out what this means. Will these units, these micro units, be similar to what is being developed at 160 Van Cortlandt Park South? What are they? You know, who will be living there? And walking past and just, you know, I'm not an engineer, but I can say that the nature of the construction in some cases does seem a little bit questionable. And we are really curious if they are up to code and, you know, do they basically follow the rules?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's my whole point.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Please send a list of those premises, and if you can get a photograph, it'd be great. And we will, Farah and I will, write a letter to the Department of Buildings requesting an inspection of each of them. Let me make the point I have made to you. Throughout the course of the discussion on City of Yes, I pointed out on behalf of this board that what was being proposed by the chairman of city planning, who comes from as a councilman on the Lower East, on the Middle East side, the more affluent portion of the city of New York, was proposed a return to SROs. Frank Hogan, as district attorney, made the point to me on the first day on the job as commissioner of buildings that his study and that of the fire department showed that SROs lead to fires, hazards of fire and collapse, and prostitution en masse. And that was why we commenced a program to close down any one of them that we could find. And we were generally quite successful. Now that lobby seeks to bring back this disaster into New York City with the cooperation of the City Planning Commission and the support of 2 members of the council who represent a portion of this district. And it's a subject that the coming primaries and election should clearly be raised. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. Don't think that SROs are confined to the Lower East Side, to the West Side of Manhattan, or the flop houses. This is a request to make that neighborhood a bad neighborhood within no time at all. So what I would recommend, Marty, if you don't mind, is that you take a look at that in the subcommittee to see what, if anything, we can do. So, for example, we can ask responsible council people like Eric Dinowitz to introduce a resolution deleting that specific section and focusing on it, together with the members of the delegation from Queens who've gone through this experience recently as well. Believe me, it is the single most concerning from a neighborhood per neighborhood basis. And the people who operate these kind of places trouble me as well. At least they did then. Not today. I don't know who operates them nowadays. But this is dangerous. Think about it. If you have 8 people living in a space that was built for 2, who's going to take that? And why? Simple as that.
I just want to note that Abba has sent these addresses to me, and I sent them over to the Department of Buildings. But I note that after our Veterans Day, after our tour of the area surrounding the Jewish Center, I questioned DOB concerning 69 Stevenson Place, which was the first one we were aware of, and that, as suggested to me, and I put in my original letter, that the rooms are arm's length width. And so I questioned DOB, is this legit? To which they said yes. And second question, and I asked in the more recent letter, on this house as well as the others, who are the agencies that are involved? I can't believe these are market rate housing for people to live in tiny places. I am assuming they're agency related, and we certainly would like to know what's going on.
I will tell you that the agencies that we should write to include the health department, which was involved last time, which is now about 50 years ago, the fire department, among others. Let me make the point. Thank goodness the New York City budget hearings are coming up shortly. As I've told its distinguished chairman on our board, I will make a motion to reduce, I repeat, reduce the budget of the New York City Department of City Planning. I believe similar motions will be made in various other boards, and it's time to defund those who defund New York. Is there any more for the committee? On the motion to adjourn, do I hear a motion?
Motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Second? Any objection? Any objection? Done. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Just got a few
Good
days.
night.
Thank you. Good evening.
Just like Tristan.